Hello everyone, and welcome to Retro Brick Reviews, where today we'll be taking a look at the LEGO Harry Potter Brickheadz set number 41621, Ron Weasley and Albus Dumbledore. This set comes with 245 pieces, two full-size Brickheadz figures. It retails for about $20 in the United States, and I have no idea why this video has not been on my channel for months. You see, I recorded this video towards the end of July of 2018. Back then it was the last video I'd made on the LEGO Harry Potter sets I'd managed to acquire up to that point, and I remember it being I remember recording it because I had the file for quite a long time before I took an extended hiatus, and I don't know why, but I just never posted the video, and now I lost the file, so today I'm re-reviewing the set. Nearly a year later, but I mean, hey, why not? So anyway, without any more further ado, let's begin by taking a look at the first of these two figures, that being young Mr. Ronald Bilious Weasley. Now, immediately, this Brickheadz figure of Ron looks pretty good. I guess we'll start with the design for the hair, as with most Brickheadz, that is where all of the character comes in, and I feel so overall they did a pretty good job at capturing Ron's haircut from the movies. I mean, to be fair, his hair is very simple. It is essentially just a bowl cut, but I mean, they got the part in the right place, which I think is pretty good. It looks nice. I like how it comes down to just above his eyes. That works pretty well for me. I mean, in general, this hair can't have too much expressiveness, but I don't know. The bang here almost sort of gives the idea of a cocked eyebrow, which I think works kind of well. I mean, turning this around to the side, you can see that there isn't really any sort of attempt to round out the corners, which is a bit unfortunate, and something that we also saw on the Hermione Granger Brickheadz figure. But I feel as though on Ron, considering that his hair is just a simple bowl shape, it's pretty easy to imagine filling in the cracks. Something I do think is a bit odd, and it's something I, in general, don't like about the Brickheadz style, but it's especially awkward here. How for some reason the front and back of the heads are a plate thicker than the sides. Like, this should be a perfect bowl shape, but it doesn't work because the front comes out too far. As does the back. It's just awkward to me. But anyway, other than that, I mean, the side design looks pretty good. It's rounded up top, but you have this little curved part next to the ear, which works well. Around the back, I think that having the studs here is fine, makes it look a bit more messy than the rest of the hair, which I think is good. Around the back, it's fully curved, and the other side is the same as, well, the side we just looked at, and the top is just curved. I mean, it's very simple design, but I think it works pretty well, especially just from the front. It looks pretty good like this. Moving on to the body, you can see that he does get some printed parts, but none of them are exclusive. The 1x2 brick here for the sweater is the same as the one we got for Hermione in her Brickheadz set, and the scarf pieces are the same ones we got on the Harry Brickheadz figure. However, while these pieces aren't new, I think they work really well here. It's great to get two scarf pieces here, and I really like the look of having one on each side rather than just having the one that Harry had. And then for the brick here, I think that having a 1x2, since we have to have studs on these sides, a 1x2 actually works here, while on Hermione it was just kind of awkward because this was just a 1x2 brick, and then you had like separate 1x1 bricks on the sides, and it just looked a little funky to me. So that's pretty good here, and this is the reason why that's just on a 1x2 brick. Still think that Hermione should have just gotten the same print put on a 1x4 brick, just so it would have looked better on her, but that certainly doesn't take anything against Ron, and even though he doesn't get any exclusive prints, the other figure in the set definitely gets quite a few, and I mean, Ron still works very well with the prints he's given. The arms are the same design we see on Harry, where to give the effect of the long sleeves and to cover up the hands, we have these new 1x1 brackets introduced with these Harry Potter sets in black, which is cool. He's just holding a simple brown 4-long stick to represent a wand, or well, dark brown actually. which is just what they did on all the Brickheads, except a couple different colors, but dark brown was the main one, and it is just the 4-long stick. It makes sense, seeing as how the new wand piece introduced with the 2018 Harry Potter sets definitely is far too small to work well with the Brickheads figures. I feel as though maybe they could have done something with, like, the 3-long bar and then a lightsaber hilt in brown to give sort of the handle of the wand, but overall I can see why they just did this, as that probably would have been a bit too long, and also it would have looked like a lightsaber, so this was probably the right way to go. You can also see around the side, you have the striped pattern of the scarf continuing around the neck. Around the back, it is too wide, which is a necessity, but I'm not a huge fan of that. I mean, like, I don't think it was warranting of, like, putting, instead of just these two pieces, putting in, like, a 1x2 plate print that would continue over a bit of the yellow, and then have a red in the middle, and then have more yellow. I mean, like, that's all I can think of, and that would have been a waste of a print, since it would have been barely noticeable, and it still wouldn't have been perfect, so this is fine. But I mean, hey, this Brickhead doesn't really have any issues for me, so I guess I had to complain about something. Oh, and also the pants look good, with the shoes at the bottom. I still don't get why with these Brickheads they decided to go with the light gray color for the sweaters, considering that LEGO hasn't done that since 2002 for the minifigures. I mean, the only thing I can still think of is that they wanted to have the color look different from the pants, even though that's not accurate. And I mean, I guess to be fair, that if they can't do the pants black like on the minifigures, because then it would have blended in with the robes, so I guess it's fine. But still, if I just compare it to this little mock-up minifigure I made for comparison, I think the dark gray just looks better. But yeah, I guess this is a good point also to talk about how this guy compares to the minifigure. And if you're curious, the mock-up I made is just the Ron Weasley figure that comes in the Great Hall set, as well as a bunch of other sets. But I'm just using the Great Hall set because that one already has the black short legs, and it's just using the torso from the Harry Potter collectible minifigure of, well, Harry Potter, to give the open robes. No scarf on that, but this is the closest I could get. So just for a quick comparison, from the front, I think they look pretty complementary. Again, the dark gray on the minifigure looks a lot better than the light gray on the Brickheads, but it's a stylistic choice. On the same token, the dark gray pants on the Brickheads are more accurate than the black pants on the minifigure, but seeing as how the Brickheads has the light gray, that point of accuracy is moot, as by that logic the pants should also be light gray. So yeah, never mind. From the side, we can sort of see how they both are starting to get the bit of a messier hair, although I do have to give props to the Brickhead because the minifigure has it a bit too messy. Like, especially on the back, it gets a bit more poofy and a bit wider. That shouldn't really be the case. It should just have a bowl shape with maybe a bit of messiness to it, so the Brickhead wins in that regard. However, the Brickhead does lose a bit in the fact that Ron's wand should be brown, and they did dark brown. This was also an issue on the Brickheads figures they did for Hermione and Newt Scamander, but I think it's especially off here, because even if the dark tan stick they wanted to keep not too common, since I don't think it comes in any sets outside of, well, this one for Dumbledore, and I guess the same with Newt, I don't think they have this piece in dark orange. Here, they've had this stick piece in reddish brown since 2004, so I don't know why they didn't go with it, since this isn't accurate. I don't know. Maybe they just wanted to have consistency between the main cast members. Also, minor thing I forgot to mention, I love how a few minutes ago I was like, well, I don't really have anything to complain about, so here's a nitpick. I guess I just forgot about my one actual problem with this figure, being that, while I totally don't mind how we have this sloped piece and then just a couple of cheese slopes and some corner tiles, I don't mind that. I'm not a fan of this little 1x2 plate here in tan that's in between the back of the head and this. Like the bang, I don't know. That's a super minor thing, it just looks a bit funky to me. Anyway, but yeah, from the back, this figure doesn't have a hood, which is a bit odd, obviously the Brickheads, I mean. I don't think I really thought about it when I reviewed the Harry Brickheads, but yeah, both of these robed Hogwarts students Brickheads should have a hood build. I'd imagine sort of similar to what they did for the Yoda Brickheadz figure for The Empire Strikes Back, except probably at a 2x3 design instead of a 2x2. So like it would have been a 3-wide hood. I think that would have looked pretty cool. But I mean, it would be pretty easy to just implement custom. So I don't really mind too much. It's a pretty simple thing. I don't really care that they missed it. I just hit my stand and broke a thing. I'll get that in a minute, though. But yeah, other than that, I think this Ron Brickheadz figure, it looks pretty good. And again, just in case you forgot, minifigures are not included. I just used this for comparison's sake. But yeah, this minifigure, or the one I'll show with Dumbledore for comparison, neither of those are included with the set. But this Brickhead is included with the set, obviously, but overall, I think this is a really great Brickheadz likeness of Ron Weasley. Is it perfect? I mean, no, although I would say that in terms of likenesses, it is probably the best of the 5 Harry Potter Brickheadz. Even though it's also the simplest Brickheadz figure. It's weird. Like, I think this and Hermione are the 2 most accurate, but I'm not entirely the biggest fan of some of the choices they made with the Hermione figure, so this one is overall my favorite. But there is still one more Harry Potter Brickheadz figure to take a look at before I'm done with this sub-theme of the Brickheadz line. And I guess from an alternate point of view, this sub-theme of the Harry Potter line. So, let's take a look at that final figure now, why don't we? So here we have the Brickheadz figure based off of Richard Harris's interpretation of Albus Percival Wulfric Brian Dumbledore from the first 2 Harry Potter movies. And I think that of the 2 Dumbledores, this was definitely the right choice for the one to make into a Brickheadz figure. Not only because he came out alongside figures of the main trio from the first few movies, but also because when people think of Albus Dumbledore, they think of this old sage more than they think of Michael Gambon, running up to Harry, grabbing him by the shoulders, shaking him violently, and calmly asking him if he put his name in the Goblet of Fire. A good amount of you probably didn't get that reference, it's okay. Anyway, this Brickheadz figure of Dumbledore, he's pretty cool. Starting off with the face, I feel as though, much like the Harry figure, they kind of realized that like, okay, so this guy, so he has glasses, he has the purple and red robes, he has the long white beard, he has a magic wand, he's Dumbledore. You know this guy's Albus Dumbledore, and because of that, they kind of looked at this and they decided to maybe go a bit less with, they had to put a bit less effort into getting the likeness of the actor with the Brickheadz figure. I mean, I think they still did a pretty good job of making it work for Richard Harris's Dumbledore. I'm just saying that it's a bit less precise. But starting off, I feel as though the hat, I guess we'll start at the top with the hat. That's very well done. It's the top of the head. You can see the first of our few printed pieces with this guy here, where we have this 1x4 tile with these nice golden bead patterns, as well as these dark orange, or is that just normal brown? I can't really tell. I think it's just reddish brown, as well as purple patterns. That's pretty cool. I can imagine some cool mocks with that. The main thing I can think of is that would work really well for, like, the carpeting pattern in, like, an classic-style arcade. And you could probably use it for other stuff. That's just what immediately comes to my mind. And what's cool is that you don't just get one of those parts. You get 7 of those parts. That is pretty cool. Also, bonus points because this guy has a hat, and then just hair, and then just a lot of hair in the back of his head. The fact that the front and back of the head are deeper than the sides actually doesn't really matter here. It doesn't look awkward. So that's good. Also, the top of the hat is nice. I like the sort of artificial curved shaping in there. And then you have this point coming out to the back. It's a very nicely designed hat. I'm a big fan. The face is also pretty good. He has something I really like in LEGO, which is where they use printing on an element to approximate a different element, in which case his glasses are 1x2 clear tiles, obviously printed with the golden glasses rim and the clearness is just the lenses, but they printed the 1x1 Brickheadz eye tile design onto that. And that's pretty cool. I just like stuff like that, and I really wish that they'd also gone with this approach for the Harry Potter Brickheadz figure, as I think printing the eyes onto actual lenses and having the lenses be a good thickness is a much better idea than just, using a thick glasses tire piece. I mean, like, it practically looks like he has tires around his eyes for the glasses on the Harry Potter Brickheadz figure, so it's a bit annoying how they are inconsistent, but Dumbledore definitely is the far better option here. And then the mouth, I really like the shaping of the mustache and mouth. Like, there really aren't any other ways they could have done it and still had the mouth, but I don't know, for some reason it gives off a nice wise look to me with the shaping there. I literally don't know why, I just like it. And then the beard is nice. It's a bit less shaggy than it probably should be, but seeing as how this is a Brickheadz figure and they just wanted, I imagine that they wanted to go for simplicity and cuteness, and I think it works pretty well. I'm glad that it does come down from the face, and there really was no way to add more detail and have it come down from the face and have this shape, and I like that it's not exactly even, so at least you get a bit of that, with it being a bit off, like this side's a bit longer than the other. I like that. Also, down on the body, we can see another one of our new printed pieces. In fact, our third one and final for Dumbledore. I'll remove his beard pieces so you can see them a bit better. We have these 1x2 brown tiles printed with a lot of, like, nougat, and then also all these, like, gold and purple and red circles, and those are really nice prints. And again, you get 6 of those, 4 on the front and 2 on the arms. We just get a lot of great prints with this guy, and like those are some really cool things, and I could again imagine some good uses for those. In this case, I can't think of any off the bat, but I'm sure that other people have already used them, since this set has been out for quite a long time. But yeah, also you'll notice that Dumbledore's robes actually reach the floor, so he doesn't have any legs. Cool. Anyway, Dumbledore's arms employ the same trick as Harry and Ron's, but instead of using the curved piece, he uses a 1x2 cheese slope and then one of these printed tiles, which is cool. And in his hand, he is holding what I presume would be the Elder Wand. However, Lego didn't print anything on it, so it's just a dark tan stick. Which I don't really mind. I mean, I think the printing would have been cool, but I also get why they didn't do it, and I'm glad that they didn't try to, like, brick build the Elder Wand, like putting on, like, a couple of brown studs with holes in them to represent the notches. That would have been kind of terrible, so I'm glad they didn't try to do that. Anyway, you can also see the hair on the sides. I like how we have these bits that curve off towards the back, well, the front and back. This bit I'm not as much a fan of, with how it just cuts off above the arm. Like, I get it, but I kind of would have preferred if we'd had it going down a bit over it, like how on the Hermione Brickheadz figure we had some hair that went down over the top of the arm. That was nice. And the figure is identical on the other side, except no wand, obviously. And from the back, you just have more hair continuing down. It works pretty well. Kind of awkward how at the bottom here we have just this curved tile and just nothing, and then this curved tile and just nothing. Maybe we could have had just like some plain 1x1 tiles here so we didn't just have this empty space. That's a really minor thing, but I don't know. It's just a bit funky to me, but really, this guy's pretty cool. I mean, like, I would say that he's not as accurate as Ron, but I will say that I might just like him more than Ron. I think Dumbledore might actually, despite what I said earlier, he might be my favorite LEGO Harry Potter Brickheadz figure. I mean, he's certainly not perfect, but I think he does a well enough job at capturing the character. He has some really awesome printed parts, some really cool build techniques, and he's a much more accurate portrayal of Richard Harris's portrayal of Dumbledore than the minifigure. Yeah, with all the other Harry Potter minifigure Brickheadz, I usually used them to compare how accurate the Brickheadz was, using the minifigure as a stand-in for the source material. Here it's kind of the opposite, because the Brickheadz figure is super accurate to the source material, and here we can kind of see where the minifigure falters in a few places. Main one being the hair color. I still don't understand why LEGO decided to give this Dumbledore, the minifigure, light gray hair. Richard Harris had pure white hair. Maybe a tiny bit of silver to it, but it's white. It is white. It is unmistakably white. And, like, that is definitely the biggest problem with the minifigure to me. And, like, I kind of get it in that the Gandalf beard only comes in light gray and they would have had to recolor it. But on the same token, he had to have a new hair mold, and judging by the leaks we've seen from the Harry Potter sets for this summer, they're using the CMF hairpiece for Dumbledore in the actual sets, meaning that as of the moment, this hairpiece that was made specially for the minifigure is exclusive to the minifigure. And if they had to make a new mold, and they were going to make it exclusive to this one set, they might have as well have just made an accurate hair-beard combo in white, which I know I've said before, but I'll say it again because it's worth saying again. And it annoys me how, like, and then there are other things, like, if they're not going to do that, then they could have at least done a new piece to give him the hat, because Dumbledore is also missing his hat that he wore basically all the time in the first two movies. I can't really think of many scenes where he didn't have the hat on. And hey, the Brickheadz has the hat, and they did it wonderfully. Dumbledore's robes should really reach the floor, and he should have used the new dress piece. The minifigure has legs, which is probably for the same reason as the McGonagall, so that they can sit. But McGonagall is liable to come in a bunch of other sets. And this Dumbledore, considering that they can only use him when they do sets for the first two movies, he is a bit less likely to appear again, so it's a bit annoying that he's not accurate in that regard. The Brickheadz has robes that reach the floor. And hey, at least this time, though, they do have the same wand color, which is accurate. And neither of them have, like, any special design for the Elder Wand. I mean, I guess it's forgivable on both. I will say that the minifigure has it more forgivable, because I think it's totally fine that they didn't make an entirely new mold for the Elder Wand before it's relevant. Like, I will be a bit annoyed if we don't get a new mold for it by the time Deathly Hallows comes around, but I feel as though for Philosopher's Stone, it wasn't necessary to make an entirely new mold for it when it wasn't relevant yet, as that would have just added even more money to... as that would have just made the Great Hall set even more expensive. And it's already too expensive, in my opinion, but I'm getting off track. The point is, this Brickheadz figure is a super accurate interpretation of the character. It's really great. That being said, that is all I have to say about the builds of the set. But before we wrap up the video, let's take a look at the box, and the instruction manuals, and also something else. That's right, everyone, this set came in a box, and, well, I guess it still comes in a box if you can find it. Probably a lot of Targets probably still have the set. Brickheadz aren't exactly hot sellers, that's probably why they canceled them. Anyway, but yeah, on the left we have all of our details, with our age, and our set number, and our name, and our part count. Then we have Brickheadz in the top left. On bottom left, we have the Harry Potter logo. We have our names for our characters, Ron Weasley and Albus Dumbledore, as well as images of our two figures. And just looking at them, they're slightly larger than life size, but not by much. On the left, we have images, screen caps from the movie of Ron and Dumbledore, and unlike some of the other figures, these are actually pretty accurate screen caps to what we see here. I mean, Ron doesn't have a scarf here, but that's about it. Also, you can see here that Dumbledore's robes really should be more purple than red and brown. And if you're wondering why I didn't mention that when I was talking about the Brickheadz figure, well, it's because LEGO doesn't really have any purple colors in their catalog that would really work super well here. So I'm glad that they went with the red and brown, because even though it's not accurate, it just would have looked a lot better than if they just done, like, a main color of, like, their night bus purple or magenta. Same thing goes for the minifigure, which, again, has flaws, but I don't consider the coloration to be one of them, because unless LEGO's willing to bring back one of their old purples, like the one they used on Quirrell, there's really no way around it. Anyway, up top we have actual size with the sweater brick. Inside we have a LEGO Life ad. Don't know why LEGO keeps telling me to do LEGO Life. I don't know why there are people doing LEGO Life that allow LEGO Life to stay open. LEGO Life looks pretty dumb to me. And on the bottom we have legalities. On the back we have more images of the figures, as well as showing that you can put them on the stands. Wow, no advertisements for the other Harry Potter Brickheads, but that's acceptable, I guess. Now, manuals. We get one for each figure. First off, Ron. He's Brickheadz figure number 60, I forgot to mention. At the front, you have this telling you that you're supposed to sort your bags, and build them one at a time. Considering that this is just the manual for bag 1, I guess that matters. And then, so 30 pages of building, and then here you have an advertisement for all the Brickheadz figures. And then you can win. Dumbledore is Brickheadz figure number 61. No such information takes place on the first page. No disclaimers telling you how numbers work, which is cool. And then here, 36 pages of building. The two figures shown together. Your parts list, which you can find online. And another LEGO Life ad, which is exclusive here since it shows these two Brickheads. Cool stuff. Now, normally, in any other review, this is where I would go to the extra pieces, but obviously, this is a review that I filmed and intended to release, like, a year ago, and I wasn't expecting to lose the footage and then forget that I didn't review it until now, so I don't have the extra pieces. So instead, I'm just going to show you probably all the parts you would have gotten spares of. Starting with Ron, you would have gotten an extra Brickheadz eye. You always do. You would have gotten an extra cheese slope in the dark orange. You would have gotten an extra dark orange curved tile. You would have gotten an extra 1x1 tile, 1x1 plate in dark orange. You would have gotten an extra 1x1 plate in dark red and in flame yellow. Then on Dumbledore, going over to him, you would have gotten an extra dark red 1x1 cheese slope, an extra corner tile plate in white. 1x1 corner tile, an extra white 1x1 cheese slope. Yeah, that's basically it. I don't think I missed anything. If I did, I don't see why it's important to point out in the comments. But yeah, so overall, would I recommend for the price of $20 the LEGO Brickheadz Ron Weasley and Albus Dumbledore set? And again, minifigures are not included. I'm just displaying them here for the final verdict because, I don't know, I like the look of it. It's what I did with all the other Harry Potter Brickheadz figures. And, I mean, yeah, probably. I would say that this is definitely objectively the best Harry Potter Brickheadz set. And even if you're not a fan of Harry Potter, this is a pretty alright parts pack. I mean, so you get lots of great prints. Those scarf pieces are pretty neutral. You could use those for anyone. You get all sorts of awesome prints with Dumbledore. Like, Dumbledore is probably one of the best Brickheads I've seen, just in terms of the parts you get with him. You get some useful dark brown parts. Like, I think these might be exclusive in dark brown. These 2x2 corner pieces that are like a 2x2 plate with the one bit missing here. I think those are exclusive in dark brown. Up here you get some great dark red pieces. You get a bunch of exclusive prints. You get 8 of those new brackets, 4 in black, 4 in brown. I mean, there's a lot of great stuff here, but in terms of accuracy, they're pretty awesome. Now, and I would say that, again, if you had to pick one Harry Potter Brickhead set, I would probably go with this one. I mean, like, the Harry Potter and Hedwig set is probably the one you would go with if you were just getting one, because it has the main character. But I would say that that's, in all actuality, probably the worst of the three. I mean, Harry just doesn't look too much like Daniel Radcliffe. The Hermione set is pretty good, but I feel as though this one definitely blows it out of the water. So, honestly, I feel as though you should, I got all 3 sets, and if you have the budget, I would get all 3 sets. But if you had to pick one, this is the one. This is a pretty awesome set, with some pretty awesome figures, and, that's pretty awesome. So, thank you all so much for watching this video, and I hope to see you all in the next one. Gosh dang it, I spent 30 minutes talking about 2 Brickheads? Yikes. Well, I guess that's it.